Hello everybody, you're welcome once again to my YouTube channel, and in today's video I want to show you how you can work with database on your Node.js project, how you can connect to a database and work with a real database just like you want to have it in production. And I know database connection is actually one of the big challenge most beginner or most junior developer face, connecting to a real database, where when you're creating a server, you don't just save your data in array. Is very, very important. You have that record being saved in a database where you persist your data so that when you refresh your app or when you come back later on in the future, your data are not lost and you have it secured in somewhere very special. So there are a couple of databases out there. We have the relational and non-relational database. For the relational database, they deal with rows and columns, while the non-relational database, they store data in form of document or object, just like you can have it in the JavaScript world. So in today's tutorial, I'm talking about the relational database, which is one of the SQL database more especially, which I'm going to show you. So I want to show you how you can connect to a real database locally and then also connect to a database on cloud. I know sometimes connecting to a database, more especially when you want to push your project or your server to production, might be a bit of challenge because the local database is quite easy for some developers to connect with, but when you want to deploy your app, it's not going to communicate with the local database. So you need to provide a hosted or a database that is safe in the cloud. So I'm going to show you how you can connect to that, and you don't need to worry about subscription or how you're making payment to get this database. There are a couple of free cloud services that provide you this SQL database, and for that, the flow and the process is quite very similar for any of the SQL database you want to go with. So I'm going to demo this process for you using the SQL database. So before we move on to the cloud database, I want to show you how you can do that with the local database. So all you need to do is to install PostgreSQL on your machine, and once you have that installed, then you can go right ahead and follow me right in this video tutorial. If you want to know how you can install SQL database, you can Google that online and download the SQL database, and the step is pretty straightforward to follow. I don't want to make this video very long, so I just want to go right ahead and show you how you can connect this database. So one way to know if you have SQL database connected correctly installed locally on your machine, you will just type in the command PSQL, that's PostgreSQL double dash help. And then if you get this piece of instructions, let me zoom out a little bit so you get to see what the response I'm getting here when you run the command psql dash dash help. So when you see this command, that's will confirm you have Postgres SQL database server correctly installed on your PC, and by default, Postgres SQL run on port 5432. All right. So the next thing we need to do is to get our connection string. Whenever you want to connect to any database, be it locally or any database hosted in cloud, you need three basic things from your database. You need a password, you need the username, and then a database, which I want to assume you already have that created in your Postgres SQL server. So if you need to create a demo video on how to create this or how to install PostgreSQL, just drop it on the comment section, and I will do well to also create a video section on that. So now I have Postgres installed. I want to get the connection string for my database and then hook that up with my Express JavaScript or any kind of application you're working with, Java, Spring Boot, or Python, any server you're working on. I want to get this connection string, my SQL connection string, connected to my server. So one quick way you can get to see your database, you can use any of the SQL tools. I want to use pgadmin, and then so I want to get my connection string for my database. I already have that installed. I already have that set up. Maybe you don't know how to get this connection string. Just go to your pgadmin, and that can assist you in getting your database name and your connection strings. So by default, if you don't have that set up, maybe uh, in the process of you installing your Postgres database, you just kind of click on the next button. You didn't fill in any information. There are some default setting you can try out on your SQL database. Maybe you don't know what the your database is, your password and all of that. So the default connection string for your SQL database, if you don't put in anything, just keep on clicking the next button. And when trying to set up the database, the default um, database name is actually root. You can try that out, or and then the default database in there is actually Postgres. So those are some of the default connection string, but I don't know if that is the default connection string for my own PostgreSQL database, because I don't really remember when I even installed PostgreSQL on my server. So all I want to do is I want to go to my servers. Okay, I think I don't have anyone created at the moment, but let me click. Okay, I have this one set up, lucky me. And then so just click on the drop down. If you don't have that, you can just go on to the button up here for you to add server, this right here, and then you put in the details. So I just want to come right here, come to my servers. I have this is locally, and then when I click on that, so you can come on the property on your PG admin, right? On the property. So just come down here to the connection strings. And these are all the details we need to connect to our API, our server on the back end. So just like I said, we need the host, we need the port, we need the database name, that is the DB name, we need the username, and then this my local database actually don't have any password, so um, that is why we don't get to see that right here. So it's kind of very not protected. I would advise you to put in password on your local database. But anyway, this is just for demo. I don't really have any real data in here, so that's why I left it open like that. So if I'm connecting to this database, that means I don't need to put in password. So just the username, the host, and the database name will actually work perfectly fine for me. Okay, so let me quickly go to my IDE, my VS Code. So I already have an Express server spin up. All right, so and then I already have that created, so I don't want to make this video too long. And then I just want to go straight to the main point. So I already have everything in place, but I just need all I need to do right now is to put in the connection string, the valid connection string. If you I already have this video section also there on my channel. You can take a look at that, how to spin up and set up your Express server using um, you know ORMs, and then make some real connections and interaction to your database. So I have all of that put in place, and then I have my service, my controller file, and all of that. But I don't really have a real database for this project, and then I also don't have um, local or any cloud database set up for that. So quickly, let me show you how my connection look like. So when you come to the config file right here, I'll be dropping this code base on my GitHub repo, so you can go right there, clone it, and then if you want to see how the code snippet, maybe you want to work with that and you want to improve on that, and you can also do where to clone that and also try to test with it. So on the connection string, I'm using ORM, so I'm not doing raw query right here. So that will save me the stress of writing the raw SQL query. I'm using SQLized ORM, so have that imported. I have .env because I don't want to put just like I said, I will be putting in some cloud database connection string in here. So I'll be pushing this code to GitHub repo. So I don't want to put in my connection value directly in here, so that no one gets to clone this Git repo and then see my connection string, so they can hack or tamper with my database. So it's very important you have that in your env, your connection string. So that's why you need to import this .env, so you can put in some of those your secret variables in there. So I have that package installed, and then the process of you syncing up your SQLized ORM with your database is quite very simple. All you need to write is just these three lines of code. You create an instance of the SQLized class, and then you need to pass in as an argument because of for the constructor, you need to pass in your connection string details, which is our database connection string, and then you need to put in the dialect and the protocol. These are the very basic things you just need to put in. So SQLize is basically an ORM that works with any SQL database. So that is why you need to tell it what database you're working with, and SQLize will automatically just flow with the kind of SQL database you're working with. So for this demo, I'm working with Postgres. That is why I'm putting the dialect here as Postgres. So if you're working with MySQL, you need to change this to MySQL. So you can also test this with MySQL. That will work perfectly fine. All you need to do is put in the correct dialect here and also the protocols and your connection string, just like the one I showed you just now on pgadmin. If you're working with MySQL, you can get that on your SQL workbench. Pretty same flow and process. All right, so that is all we need to do on the SQLize part. So I just want to show you this. And so even when we move on to the SQL connection string from cloud, there's no point in coming down here. SQLize will handle that for us and everything will work perfectly good. So now the next thing I need to do is to go to my env and add this variable, which is database URI. All right, so we need to just go in there and add this, and SQLize will pick that up and will begin communicating with our database right ahead. So when I come to my env right here, you can see I currently don't have any of those. I don't have any value for this my database connection string here. So let me create a variable for that in my env. So I'll put in this equal all right. So let me go back to the SQL, sorry, pgadmin workbench once again and get my connection details. So the name of the the username is Sir Obed, and then the database is Postgres, and then the localhost, and I have all of these. Okay, all right, good. So let me just copy that, and I'm gonna paste it on my env. Okay, all right. So yeah, these are the details we need. Just like you can see right here, we need the um, username, which is what I have right here. I also need the host, which is localhost for this time, and then this is the port, and lastly, this is the database we want to connect to, and that is all we need for our server to connect to local database. But before then, let me comment this. So when I try to start my Express.js application this time around, let me clear up my terminal, and then when I run npm run dev. So run dev is actually the command snippet I have in my package.json whenever I want to start my server in the dev mode. So right, so when I run that command and just give it some couple of seconds. All right, so we have this error warning: URI argument must be of type string but receive undefined. So that is simply because when I try to start my server, it tried going to the env and then looking for my connection string, which is this DBURI, but currently I have it commented out, so this is returning back an undefined. And the SQLize class here actually need a string whenever I want to initialize our database. So we tried checking it in here in the env field. It's currently not there because I have this commented out. So let me uncomment this and bring it back, and then let me start my server once again. And when I run yarn dev or npm run dev, anyone works good, npm run dev, and give it some couple of seconds, and then we have our server started, and then database was also connected successfully. So yeah, that is pretty much it for you to connect to your database locally and then have it running. So now whenever I make any requests, whenever I send some requests, save some data, that will get saved locally on my database, uh, on this very database. So if I can go ahead right now and create some tables, save some data, edit some data, delete some record, and do all of that operation. So that is it. And now I just want to move in quickly to the cloud connection stream so you can and push this data and deploy it and then have it saved on your where anybody around the world can reach out to, because currently this is running locally. No one else can access this server because it's running just locally on my machine. Now if you want to push this, you want to deploy it to the cloud where users and anywhere around the world can access this and test your server. You're not going to connect to a local database, right? You need to get a hosted database that is on cloud, and that is what your deployed server will definitely work with. It will not access your local SQL Postgres database, just like I have right here. Now, there are a couple of options out there where you can get your SQL Postgres database. You can get that on DigitalOcean. You can get your SQL database on AWS. You can get it on Linode. You can get it on Azure. So many platforms out there, but I think most of these platforms will actually require you to pay some little token for you to get your database server. So for the sake of this demo, I just want to show you. I'm going to spin up a database with Render, and Render provides us with some free versions of Postgres database that we can test with, right? So they also have the paid version. The free version is not as robust and reliable as the paid version, but this is just for demo purpose, and that's why I just want to go with that so that everybody can flow along with me. If you have the paid version, Render, you have the subscription, then that's very good. The process and the flow is pretty much the same. So all you need to do is go to Render account, just search for Render, and there are a couple of other platform out there that also offers you this free service. You can just check online. You can just Google it out and then also test with that. But the most important thing is the connection string is going to be pretty much the same. And since we are using SQL database, um, the flow is actually going to be the same. There's no much things you're going to change or work on. So now let me go to Render, spin up the database, get the connection string, and then we get it back here and then test on our server. Okay. Okay, so when you go to render.com, all you need to do is sign in. You can sign in with your email or with your GitHub account and any one of that. Render actually support that. So I'm actually going to sign in with my GitHub, and then okay, I can go ahead and authorize that. And so I just need to continue. I think I already have that authorized already. Okay, so I'm currently logged in my render account, and this is the dashboard. All right, so I have some couple of deployed projects in here, and they're also there on my GitHub repo. If you want to have a look at that, uh, you can check that also on my channel. These are some couple of APIs I have right here. So I just want to, you can click on the new button right there and just go ahead and choose Postgres SQL. We want to spin up a database. So I choose that, give it a name. Let me call it testdb. Um, you can give this any name also. Let me call it test database. I think I want to call it test database everywhere, not testdb. And then user optional, you can leave that the way it is. Region, you can select any region where you're at. But I'm going to leave the default region US West. And then version, you can choose whatsoever SQL version you have. Version 16 is the current and the latest one. You can leave that the default version, or you can downgrade to any other previous one. That's quite cool and fine by me. Every other thing there, API keys. And so I actually want to spin up the free database, so I'll select this one right here. So these are some couple of options here. If you really want a robust database and more features out there with the speed, the memory capacity, you can see right here the CPUs and all of that. I would recommend you go for any of this paid version, but the flow and the setup and all of that is pretty much the same actually. So I have all of these set up. So all you need to put is the name and all of that, couple of information there, and then create your database, create database. So give it some couple of seconds, and then so I can go ahead and close that. And so status, this is creating the database. So let's give render some couple of seconds to spin up our database, and we're going to test with this from the local server, and then it will also work perfectly well on your remote server as well. I mean, wherever you want to host your server, go be on render. Also, render also provides you the 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 platform to host your Express or your Node.js server on the platform. All right. Or if you want to have a Spring Boot server or Python, anyone, you can have that in a Docker container and have that also hosted here on render. If you want to, for me to record a video on how to host the server, you can drop it on the comment section, and I also do well to show you how you can host your server, deploy your server, and have that on render. Okay, so our database is currently created. And when you take a look at the status here, it's available. So our database is in good health. Everything is pretty much the same. Now, how do we get the connection string for our database, and how do we use that to connect to our server on the Express.js application? So you can just go right down and scroll to the bottom of your uh, dashboard on the SQL database platform on Render. So now these are your secret keys actually. So I'm actually gonna expose this because I'll be deleting this database immediately after this video. So even if you try to connect to this database or use it, that's not gonna work. So that's why I'm gonna expose that. So now what you definitely need here is actually this external database URL, right? So this is just all you need to connect to your server on your application. So um, if you want to copy that, without you showing whatever we have here, that's you can just go ahead and click on this clipboard icon, copy to clipboard, and then you have that. So now we're going to expose that so you can see that. So this is our connection string. Now, if we take a look at this is pretty much very similar to what we have previously on the local connection string. So when I go back to my env, you can see we have Postgres, we have this is the username. We don't have password, so password should come next immediately after the colon, and then we have the host, which is localhost for now, and we have also the port and the name of the database. So let me just go right ahead and copy this, and that is what we want to be using this time around, not the local connection string. So come back here to my server, and then my env, let me comment that one out. Let me comment the local connection string, and I want to work with the connection string we get from render. This is quite very long because of the password and every other thing out there. The host this time around is no longer localhost, is a little bit shorter. So now if you take a look here, this is our host, right? Render.com, and so that is our host. In previously we were using localhost, and this is the database, right? The one I created, where and then render add some kind of suffix to the database name. So that's what we have right here. This is our database, and this is the password to my hosted database on render, and this is my username on render. You can see how pretty simple this thing is. So now we'll need to add one more code snippet on our DB configuration. Else, this is not going to work because the hosted database on cloud or any other render have some security feature that we need to pass into a connection string. Else, this is not going to connect. But let me show you that real quick. So let me stop my server from running. Do a Control C if you're on Mac. if you're on Mac, do a command Control C, you mark a window that will stop the server from running. So when I try to run npm run dev, give it some couple of seconds, and this is trying to connect, and we have this error. Now, should in case you try to, I think I did a video some couple of months ago, and it was showing this SSL TLS required error and all of that. And someone tried to ask me, how can he avoid this? How can you break out of this SSL connection error on your database? So all you need to do is to add just a very simple connection string on your server. All right, so let me first of all stop my server from running, and then I'll show you the command you need to add to your dbconfig file. All right, so now let me stop my server from running, and then go to the dbconfig files. All right, so this is, we need to pass in this code snippets to our dbconfig file, so that will prevent render or any of the SSL error issue you've been having. So all you need to do is to add some kind of dialect option command, and yeah, so we need to add some dialect option command. SSL require, we'll put that true, reject unauthorized, we'll put that to false, and um, this will break the error, the SSL error one we've been having. And I think I just want to ask, I just want to, I don't want to see any logs. So maybe when I create user, or when I create record, save record, update, I don't want to get that log. So just add the command login for, because the ORM will try to show us the SQL raw command of every action we are taking. So this is pretty much all you need to do, all the setup you need to put in place for you to connect to your database on cloud, all right? So now when I come back here and I try to run the command once again, npm run dev, and let's give it a couple of seconds. This is trying to connect to the cloud GB. This is not going to be as fast as local connection, and our database is connected successfully, and server is now started. So thank you very much for sticking around. That is how you can create your database, connect it to your server, and have it working. And the good thing is this process is very much the same for every SQL database you want to connect to. If you want me to have this tested, or you want me to have a record video on how to do that on Java Spring Boot, you can do it, drop it on the comment section. And thank you for now. See you in the next video tutorial. Bye.